Okay, so in this video, we're going to be going over who could have possibly attacked Wellington, and whether or not it was the New Frontier. Because if it is the New Frontier, did they take over as well? Because we know that Eugene in the comics, this is why we're doing this. It's really interesting because it heavily ties into the comics right now. Eugene's in contact with a group from Wellington, right? With a group from Ohio, sorry, and we know that Wellington was a huge group. They had huge walls. The walls weren't taken down; they were just attacked by this group. But like no walls were taken down. Yeah. It's like they just got in through the doors. So did the New Frontier take over and then leave? Did the New Frontier take over and stay there? And keep in mind as well, is this even the New Frontier?
Because the reason we mention it is because where you see one guy shooting. It's the guy who shoots Edith. Yeah. And we'll show it here. I mean, he shoots Edith, but it shows him here, and there's a tattoo on his arm. Is that a new frontier? Like,
if you look at it, it looks like a circle. Logo? It looks like a circle, but you can't see it clear enough. Like you can't see it clear enough to see if it is the logo.
Here, you can't really tell.
Yeah, and from what we've seen, as David pointed out as well, is that all the males have the New Frontier logo on their neck.
They're all on the neck, and well, we only know that Clem has it on her arm, and the woman she met has it on her arm too. So do the females have it on their forearm, and then the males have it on their neck? I don't know why that may be.
Yeah, because if that is the case, then this guy can't be a part of the New Frontier because he would have it in his neck. But you can't really go on that.
It does look a bit like it though, but it could just be a random tattoo, you know. And it is in Ohio. It's kind of a stretch.
Yeah, remember if they have the New Frontier like outposts set in Ohio as well, then that's a huge group. That's a really really big group. Yeah. If they have outposts in Ohio all the way to Richmond, because we know they've taken over Richmond. Like they've taken over, which means they must have a large group to take over Richmond. They must have an even bigger group to take over places like Ohio and stuff. So, is this a bandit group, like a new group we're going to get introduced to in the comics? Is this the New Frontier?
Yeah, there's one thing that stands out to me. It's when Eugene asks Stephanie on the radio in the comic.
Yeah, he asks who are you?
Like, who are you? She says we got enough to defend ourselves. A large group.
50 plus, doesn't she say?
We got walls. We're in Ohio. Yep. And when she says we're in Ohio, it's the last thing she says. It seems like a big deal that she mentions Ohio. Right away, we're like, fucking hell, that must be
Even before
Wellington.
she mentioned Ohio, we said, what group can they have in contact
Yeah,
with?
we was discussing this.
And then they mentioned Ohio, and it boosted. I don't see how you'd have any other community in the Ohio area.
Exactly. But they break down the gate, don't they? But I mean, they could have moved in there. Edith says to Clementine, there's a load of them. There's a lot of them, and we can't defend ourselves, which means... And Wellington was full. It might have been full with just survivors, not people who can fight, possibly.
And clearly, it was more like a community like Alexandria in the TV series. Alexandria in the comics and the TV series, for example.
Before Rick got there, when they just didn't know what they were doing.
They were living a normal life, just trying to live a normal life, trying to build a community. I don't think they were trained fighters. Yeah. So when they rolled in, they got absolutely whacked.
So how cool would this be if Eugene is possibly on a radio to fucking bandits? This once again ties into what's come up in the comic. After the Whisper War, it looks like Alexandria gets overrun by walkers, or like after this Whisper stuff happens, and then you got, which we'll be doing a separate video on. Recently, there's been a cover released of the Saviors. Looks like they're going to turn their back on Rick and stuff, and go to attack them. So it's going to be one big cluster. Like Rick is kind of fucked. Negan also is kind of fucked. And I don't know what's going to go on there, but that's for another video. All I want to say is, if it ties into that and Eugene is on the radio to someone who's in this group, right, who's taken over Wellington,
then they're bad, because these are bad guys. So if these people that attack Wellington have taken over, then they are bad. There's no doubt about it. They're bad because we've seen what they do. The New Frontier aren't good people, or whoever this bandit group is.
And there's a very good point here as well. Edith says to Clementine, like, we're kind of starving here.
Yep.
And I was just thinking, why would they even try and get on the radio to someone who's that far away, right? Why would they try and get on the radio to someone and talk to them and be like, we need your group? Because Wellington's like kind of secure. And I just thought, it's when Edith says that we're kind of starving. There's not a lot of food in Wellington. So it makes sense that they'll be getting on the radio trying to sucker Eugene in, asking about how much food you have and all that, getting all details, because they are running out of food. They need to get out of Wellington, out of Ohio, and try and find somewhere else. And Alexandria's the target. But the Whisper War thing looks like it's going to fuck Alexandria up completely. Hilltop's destroyed too in the recent comic. So shit's going down now, and it's so interesting because
And remember the reason
game's tying up with the comic, and they've already added in Jesus. It could be a new frontier. That could be who's even on the radio. But I mean, to me, that doesn't seem like
it's still early days yet. Remember, it's only episode 1 and 2.
It's the fact they
We've
mentioned
still got
Ohio and Wellington's there. We say it in a lot of videos. I think we've done 2
but
videos
now,
before.
but now Wellington's been overrun. So who is it?
Yeah.
Like, did the New Frontier roll in, take them out, and then leave, and then another group who
I don't think
Eugene's
that's
on the
a New
radio
Frontier.
is?
I think that's a separate group.
I think it's a separate group
because
too.
even on the wiki, I know anyone can edit that, but it says it's a random scavenger.
Yeah.
And I mentioned.
I think it would. Yeah, they would. I think they would mention if it was the New Frontier, but they don't see. I don't see how they would have like outposts from Ohio all the way to like around Alexandria, around Richmond. I don't see a group being that big. That seems too ridiculous. Because if they were to come into a group that big, if they were to come in contact with the free communities get ripped apart. Like that's a huge fucking group.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rick would be in trouble then, and they would have run into them. Jesus would have told.
Yeah,
Rick.
it's just all
The
speculation.
fact Jesus is there, he would have told people about it, and it doesn't seem like a big deal right now. They're concentrating on the Whisperers.
And also, I want to say that I don't think the New Frontier are that bad. Like these guys,
I think right now in the comic universe, it's in the same universe, but I mean in the comic timeline right now, it's like probably 7 months ahead, 6 months ahead, possibly. I think that New Frontier, I think they're dead. I think they're dead. Otherwise, Jesus wouldn't be concentrating on Whisperers. He'll be telling Rick there's a fucking big group out there. They're gonna do
it depends if
something,
they turn good, because
They
David
could turn
is the
good,
leader.
'cause David could turn
Basically,
good.
what we're trying to say now is that it's all speculation. It's all speculation. It could be the
It's
New
fucking
Frontier.
interesting.
I don't think it is because the New Frontier don't seem to. They seem to negotiate. It doesn't seem like there was any negotiation when it come to when this group were attacking Wellington. It seems like they just demanded
they just
food,
attacked them.
tried to take from them, and then they just killed all of them. It doesn't seem like the New Frontier. The New Frontier have a certain way of dealing with things. Like they are bad people, but they try to negotiate at least. Even if it is a very bad way of negotiating, they try to negotiate. Doesn't seem like there was any of that here, and the guy doesn't seem to have the right tattoo. It seems like all men have it on the neck, but we don't know. It could be them.
They're just 2 points basically.
Yeah.
The women seem to have it on their forearm, from what we've seen. Only 2 of them, so someone could have it on the neck. We don't know yet.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just a small topic. Was watching it back and we decided to think because it ties heavily into the comics. This is a big deal. It's a bigger deal than what people are talking about.
I don't know. I want it to happen. I want there to be that. But then now I've just remembered that Alexandria looks like it's fucked. And that could just be for an image of a cover, but I doubt it. I mean, the comic is looking insane right now, but this is a video about the game.
Yeah, basically.
But it looks like they're joining up. I mean, they're in the same area. I mean, I don't know what's going to put
I went from thinking that it's definitely Wellington and they're good people to now thinking it's 50-50.
One of our original theories was, what if Wellington gets taken off by a bad group, and then that's who you just
exactly, and that's
could be,
and that is what seems to be happening.
I don't think it's a New Frontier at all.
I don't think it's a New Frontier. I think it's another group that we're going to come
Edith
across.
says that they're starving, so that means that the group that's just got there, they're behind walls, right? They got walls, but they don't have food, and that's why they want Alexandria. They found them on the radio. We know they have vehicles. They busted the gates open, the front gates open with it. So
yeah.
I mean, unless they're just a dumb scavenger group.
But it could be, and then they do have some heavy artillery. It seems they have like AKs and stuff. It's not just basic pistols. So
it's that fight the apocalypse too.
Yeah, and you have to think as well that Rick in the comics has just dealt with the Whisperers, like huge villains. Will they really throw more villains straight after that? Like, and not to mention you've got the Saviors coming into it as villains as well. It's one big clusterfuck. It's very interesting because you don't really know how it's going to go, and that's what I love about the comics
so many ways.
and the game. Yeah, but like I say, it's just speculation. I don't think it is the New Frontier. I think it's just a bandit
Don't you
group.
just love now how Kirkman's made this world so fucking open?
Yep.
Like, it is so big now. Possibilities are endless. There's so many different ways they could go with it. Lily, who shot the governor in the comic, is still alive somewhere, underground.
The other Lily, who went in the RV, still alive. There's just so many characters.
There's so many different
and
characters who are
possibilities
all over the place. There's so many different communities. I love it. It's getting kind of like that Game of Thrones world now, where you've got all these different places. So that's Morgan. It's getting like that now. You've got all these theories. Fucking love it. It's amazing.
But tell us what you think down below.
Yeah.
Certainly, if you read the comics
It's basically
and play
just
the game.
this is basically just an update of our theory of is it Wellington.
Yeah.
I mean, we keep speaking about it, but this is pretty big news. What we've mentioned about the Edith saying that they're starving and that, it kind of makes sense to me. But
and the fact that it's in the Ohio area that he's talking to them in.
And he might have just got on the radio and found someone, and wow, I mean, they need food, right? Bam.
Yeah. So tell us what you think of that down below. If you think it's a new frontier that's taken over, if you think the new frontier took them out and then went, and then a good group's moved in. If you think that it's a bandit group that's rolled through and taken over it, because they do have pretty big walls. I don't see why you would turn that down. That seems perfect. The walls seem very, very secure. So I don't see how anyone would like give that up. If you take it over, you would move in. I should think. So tell us what you think down below. If you think it's the new frontier, if you think it's a bandit group. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave it a like, share it around, and as always, cheers for watching.